Good morning, everyone. I'm Sujitha Pushpanathan. Are you able to see my screen? Hello?
Yes, Sujitha.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thanks for confirming. So good morning, everyone. I'm really happy to welcome each and everyone for attending this webinar. So myself, Sujitha Pushpanathan, and I will be hosting this webinar. So I'm really okay. I can see people joining in. Manish, can you please add the people who are joining in the lobby?
Yes, Sujitha, I'll do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm from Inference Labs and I will be hosting this webinar today, and it's going to be a 1-hour session. It will be a presentation followed by Q&A session in the last 15 minutes. So coming about the kind of webinars that we are conducting, this is the second webinar in the series of embedded analytics. Last year we conducted one more webinar, and that was touch basing the introductions and little bit about embedded analytics, and this time we are coming up with a customer success story all the way from Singapore. So without further ado, let's start the session. Yeah. So this is going to
I think we might have just lost Sujitha.
After the introductions, we will touch on the education market is getting for industry, followed by customer success story from Cialfo, and I will show us. Hello, am I on?
Hello, is it us or is it Sujitha?
Yeah,
I think
Hello.
Sujitha, you're breaking up there.
Yeah.
I think she's going to rejoin.
I'm really sorry. Am I audible now?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. That could be due to my bandwidth issue. I'm really sorry. Are you able to see my screen?
I can't see your screen. So.
Okay. Sounds great. Okay, sorry about that technical glitch from my end. So yeah, I was talking about the agenda. So we'll quickly cover our introduction, followed by the Indian education market, followed by a use case, and then a small demo of this embedded analytics and analytics, especially advanced analytics, followed by a Q&A session that we will save it for the last 15 minutes. Okay, I believe you can see my screen.
Not yet. It's not up yet.
Not yet?
No.
Oh, I'm really sorry. Give me a second, please.
And we'll just wait for a few more people to join, but it's great, guys. You know, this is going to be a great session. We've got some great speakers. And once we get the slides back up, we'll start off. But, you know, the genesis of this was really having some conversations about what's really working in the market today. And there's such a tremendous uptake right now in the Edtech and education market. So we'll talk about that in a second. Sorry, Sujitha, just back to you. I was just filling some space while you got the slide back up.
Okay, so I believe you're able to see it now. Okay, fine. Okay.
Now I think you muted yourself, Sujitha, unfortunately. So I think unmute and we're probably good to go.
Oh my God. I'm really sorry for all the technical glitches coming from my end. So yeah, let's touch base the speaker. So I'm Sujitha. So I'll be conducting or hosting this webinar, and I'm from Inference Labs, and followed by Rohan from Sisense, joining from Sydney, Australia, and Charles, the product manager from Cialfo, joining all the way from Singapore. So thank you, Charles and Rohan, and for making this webinar happen. Yeah, and I'll quickly jump to what Inference do. Yeah. So Inference Labs, we are based out of Bangalore, and we are analytics company, and we believe in delivering quality and customer analytics to our customers. We are founded in the year of 2018, and we are almost 36 employees right now and growing stronger, catering different clients all around the world, 30 plus companies around the world, and we are also a partner of Sisense and tech partners of Microsoft, NASCOM, and Startup India. So basically what we do is we provide analytics and all the tasks spinning around consultation, designing, build, as well as managing. Yeah. So that was a short introduction about our company Inference Labs, and I'll pass it to Rohan for a short introduction about Sisense. And Rohan, over to you.
Great, thank you very much, Sujitha. So thanks, everybody. My name is Rohan. I look after channels and alliances and relationships and business development, a little bit of this, a little bit of that for Sisense across Asia Pacific and Japan. You know, I could easily say, guys, this is what Sisense, this is who we are. And I can tell you that we have lots of customers who have been around for 10 years. You know, we've got customers like American Express and NASDAQ and GE and Philips and all the large organizations. We've got technology partner relationships with AWS, stuff like, et cetera, et cetera. I can tell you that we have a big group of customers and clients in India. And then when you look at the education market and Edtech that we're talking about, we have a lot of customers there that we help out. But it's not really who we are that's important. It's really, you know, what we do that makes a difference. And Sujitha, can you go to the next slide?
Yeah.
And just to set the context, everybody, we said that we were going to start off and have a bit of a conversation about education technology and education market in India. And then we had a lot of interest from people around Asia Pacific, and I think there's even somebody from the UK who's joined. So what we talk about now around advanced analytics, emerging technology, and how you can apply it to the EdTech and education markets can easily, you can extrapolate the context within the discussion that we're going to have, and it's applicable to all markets, right? So when I look at, you know, what we do and why we stand out and why it's important these days to have a good understanding of advanced analytics and advanced analytics platforms, I think that you really have to look at the evolution of analytics over the past 25 years, right? I come from Cognos, you know, 25 years ago, you know, the first generation client server technology, go into a large organization, work with their IT department, you know, it'd take a month, 2 months, 3 months to get the reports. Hopefully you got them right, because you'd have to do them all over again. You lose a bit of time. But that was the best thing going, right? There's nothing else there, and you're getting insights. It's just that it took you a while to get those insights. And then you go back about 2008, so about 15 years ago, when there's a big movement, the next stage of evolution, which was desktop data democratization, right? Everybody had you know, data on their desktop that they could see. It's all about visualizations. It was the tableaus and the clicks, etc. And they made the first generation obsolete to a certain degree, less relevant. And that's what's happening now, right? When you look at where we are today and what Sisense and a few others are doing, we are the next generation advanced analytics platform. We're born on the cloud. We connect to anything and everything. We can scale. We're talking billions and billions of rows of data, right? You can go code first to no code. I mean, you have to have that flexibility. And it's advanced analytics and emerging analytics out of the box for the users. And so we're really built. I mean, the crux of the matter is we're built for modern data, right? We always talk about the variety of data and the velocity of data and the volume of data and the veracity of data and how that changes, and it changes every single year, right? It evolves, data evolves. And so the old systems struggle to handle that. You know, they said what? Gartner did a report. People that they asked said 80% of the projects that they invest in fail to have the ROI. And when Gartner scratched the surface, it's like, you know, the adoption of analytics and everything that they're sort of embedding within their systems isn't working. I mean, people aren't using it. The adoption is very low. It's like around 30%. So it's all about going beyond dashboards, right? It's all about delivering insights at the point of decision making. And this is starting to make the second generation type technology a bit obsolete. Next slide, please, Sujitha. So, you know, we said we're going to talk about education. Again, same sort of caveat I said at the beginning. Education in itself is $1 trillion market globally. In India, it's about 120 billion. It's going to double within the next couple of years. So it's a fast growing market. You know, you've got the 4 or 5 big, I think there's like 32 unicorns, EdTech unicorns globally. And what's called a unicorn, it's like $1 billion a company with $1 billion valuation. I think 14 are in the US, I think 7 are in China, and 5 are in India, right? So Bijus and Erudice and Vedantu and Upgrad, Unacademy, I think these are the big ones. So there's a big market, we know that, right? But what's really driving this? It's the rise of virtual learning, right? So remote learning, even in Australia, remote learning, when COVID hit, everybody was learning from home, but we have remote communities as well that have to have access and are taking advantage of virtual learning. So we're seeing this grow exponentially. Government in India is spending a lot of money on sponsoring education and scholarships for the disadvantaged population, but also for those who want to take advantage of education and skilling. They're investing in the fact that internet accessibility, smartphone accessibility, so people can now take advantage of that. They have access to education. And the key thing here is like a lot of the population is between 15 and 40. So a core addressable market, right? The young people who are very tech savvy and need analytics or need education, I should say. But you know, when you're looking at as an EdTech perspective, the challenge is how do you differentiate your offering in a very, very crowded space, right? Look at the top right-hand box there. I mean, EdTech is a varied and complex market. It's not just one size fits all, whether you're looking at international recruitment or study notes or counseling or even just sales. Everything boils down to taking data, turning it into information, information into insight into action, action at the point of decision making, right? That's what this is all about. The answers are in the data, right? So how do you drive better performance? How do you drive better results? You need to embrace advanced analytics. So today we're really pleased. We've got a fantastic speaker, you know, Charles Carrier, who's the head of all things data at Cialfo. And Charles and I have been talking about this in the preparation, and there's a fantastic story. And Charles, when I was looking at, I think it was TechCrunch yesterday, they were mentioning how Cialfo is partnering with 1,000 universities around the world. You know, 1,000 universities, everybody. And what they're doing is they're helping students and universities and counselors make better decisions every day. So it's an exciting story here. So I'm going to turn over to Charles to talk about how their organization uses advanced analytics to drive better performance. Charles, over to you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Rohan. So I'm going to start off by introducing myself and introduce Cialfo, and then talk about some findings we have from the Indian education market. And then the meat of my presentation will be talking about our collaboration with Sisense, how Cialfo and Sisense work together to drive value for our customers. So a little bit about me. I've worked at Cialfo since 2019. Before then, I was a teacher for 6 years, and I'm the business lead for all things data at Cialfo. And very important here, I lead our Cialfo Sisense integration from the Cialfo side. Awesome. Next slide, please. So now a little bit about Cialfo. We're based in Singapore. We have over 200 employees, and we are a digital transformation leader in higher ed, focused on making it easier for students to find, apply, and get into the right university for them. Next slide. And so in that mission, we have 3 major groups who we're working with. We work with students to help them find and apply to universities. We work with high school leaders and counselors to manage applications from their high schools. And then we work with higher ed institutions to identify and encourage great fit students to apply. Next step. Next slide, please. Cool. So now I'm going to, perfect. Yep, that's fine. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about some findings we derived from our Sisense integration about the findings of education market in India. So first thing I wanted to show is top countries applied to by Indian students from 2017 to 2022. And what we see is that students who are applying overseas are applying primarily to Anglo countries. Far and away the lead is US, then we've also got UK, Canada, and Australia being major leaders. But if you go to next slide, what we can see is that starting in 2020, there was a sharp rise in Indian domestic applications. That means students applying from Indian high schools to Indian universities. We're really thinking that COVID is probably driving a lot of this decision to apply domestically. However, this trend has simply continued from 2020 onward. All right, next slide. And the final little tidbit of data I wanted to share is the applications per student from 2017 to 2022. What we can see here from our data is the number of applications per student has doubled in the last 5 years, going from 1.8 applications per student in 2017 to 3.6 applications per student in 2022. This is suggesting an increased interest in higher education among Indian students and in the Indian market. All right, next slide. Awesome. So after a little sort of highlight of the data and all the fun findings we've been able to derive from Sisense, I'm now going to turn to talk about how we actually work with Sisense to build out this product and deliver this value. Awesome. Next slide. Thank you. So I'll be talking through 5 points. Firstly, a brief timeline of our integration with Sisense. Then going to get a little bit technical and talk through our data stack. What's the setup we use to actually get data in front of our users? Next, I'm going to go through in a decent amount of detail our data security. We work with students, we have student data. Security is essential. We can't mess that up, and we'll show how we use Sisense to solve that security problem. And finally, I'm going to talk about some of those values and value adds for Sisense for me as a data admin, and then also for our customers, why they love having Sisense and the power of Sisense available to them. Next slide. Cool. So our timelines. January 2021, we signed on with Sisense. April 2021, we embedded Sisense reporting in our high school facing products, and we started developing our internal reports. Then over the next year, we had some changes on our infrastructure, some working on our infrastructure. And by April 2022, we switched from using Matillion as our ETL tool to using Hevo as an ETL tool. And this unlocked essentially real-time reporting, made that available, which is a big improvement. And then also in April 2022, we launched our university-facing reporting product. Okay, awesome. Next slide. Cool. So now I'll talk a little bit about our data stack. This is going to get a little technical and show what we do to get our data from our source in and available to our users, both internal and external. And I'm going to use ETL, this framework of extraction, transformation, and loading, as a framework to discuss how we do this. Extraction refers to the idea of getting data from source into our system. Transformation is about preparing the data for analytics, making it ready for customers to consume, and loading is about making the data actually available to our customers. Next slide, please. Cool. So in our extraction layer, we use Hevo as our ETL tool to extract raw data into Snowflake. So for example, if you're thinking about the number of users in our system, we get that data using Hevo and move it into Snowflake. And then we use Segment as another ETL tool to extract our behavioral analytic data into Snowflake. So if you want to know about click tracking or something like that, that data is coming via Segment into Snowflake. Next slide, please. Cool. And then we have our transformation layer. We're moving pretty much raw data into Snowflake. We're doing very minimal transformation using Hevo as Segment. Then once the data is in Snowflake, we use dbt as our transformation tool to restructure that data into a form that Sisense can consume and display to users. Perfect. And then finally, we have that loading layer. We use Sisense's live connection functionality to load data from Snowflake into Sisense. And then we use iframes to embed our Sisense reporting tool in our high school and university facing reporting products, while our internal users, so Cialfo internal, just logs directly into Sisense and accesses their data from there. Cool. Next slide. And so to recap our stack, we use Hevo and Segment for the extraction layer. We use Snowflake and dbt for the transformation layer. And finally, we load the data to our users using Sisense live connections to get the data into Sisense and then display it to our end users. Cool. So now I'm going to talk about data security. Empowering students is the heart of everything we do. And so data security is really non-negotiable. We need to make sure we are getting security right and protecting our students' data. Otherwise, we are not delivering value to our students and we're not doing right by them. So I'm going to walk through that setup. Cool. So next slide. So data security is so important. How do we do it? Well, quite simple. First, we ensure that all the data we import into Sisense contains an ID, which uniquely identifies the source of every piece of data. So for example, we know the high school of every single student in Sisense. Next slide. At the same time, we associate every customer who views Sisense data with a given source. So continuing this example, a high school counselor who views Sisense data is associated with their high school. Next slide. And then finally, when someone uses Sisense, Sisense at the very initial point of load checks the ID associated with that user and only loads data from sources that user is associated with. So for example, when our high school counselor uses Sisense, their reports will only include data with an ID that matches that counselor's high school, ensuring that they are only seeing the data they are permitted to see. Cool, next slide. So great, awesome, we've done that. Why is that cool? Well, it's amazing because, oh, okay, perfect. Got a little sneak preview of what's coming next. So why is that great? Because it just works. We have a lot of awesome engineers on our side. Shout out to Ankit, Bhupati, Stefan, and Atendra, among others, doing the initial setup. And there's also had a lot of great support from the Sisense team. But once it's set up and it's done, I, as a non-technical person, have successfully managed data security in Sisense without any trouble for the last 18 months. And not only does it works more or less automatically now that it's done. When I add or remove users, the system automatically updates data security to ensure that those users are only accessing the data they're supposed to, and so I don't need to worry about it. Perfect. Awesome. So next, we talked about data security. Now, with that puzzle solved, let's talk about why I, as a data admin, really like working with Sisense. All right, that was a short slide. Sorry, Sujitha. Okay, yeah. Cool. So we have many high school and university users. However, managing their reporting needs is relatively easy because the reports that all the high schools see have different data when a given high school loads it in, but they're all loading the same underlying report. The structure is the same. And that's true for universities. So even as the number of university or high school reports users or customers increases, the number of reports stays relatively constant. So we don't have an issue of the number of reports increasing with our number of external facing users. So the volume of users isn't a challenge for us. However, with our internal customers, it's just not the same. Internal customers can be broken out into 5 departments: marketing, sales, product, finance, customer support. And within those departments, there are different teams that have different and, annoyingly, ever-changing reporting needs. You know, business never stays still. So if you go to next slide. So here, and this isn't even super comprehensive, our data team needs to support all of these internal customers whose needs are always changing. And my data team simply does not have the manpower to maintain reports for all departments and teams within the company. However, Sisense's user management and security settings makes it easy for me to enable and empower each team and department to build their own reports without me, as the data admin, needing to worry about them lighting something on fire over the weekend. So let's talk about how we do that. Cool. So firstly, security. Security is handled exactly like we handle data security for our high schools and universities. So I know that people in their departments only see the data that I'm permitting them to see. So that security is solved. Awesome. And then within each department, we select a Sisense report designer who is given a Sisense report builder, who is given a Sisense designer account and trained how to build their own reports. Now, because they're only a designer, they can only access the data that I choose to share with them, and they can't edit that data. They just have read-only access. So they can build reports from that data, but they can't manipulate the underlying data. And then additionally, we use Sisense's limit autocomplete functionality to ensure that these users, these report builders, can only share their reports to people in their team, which means they can't accidentally send a report somewhere it shouldn't go. They can't accidentally publish a random report to a customer. Now, even if they did, with all our data security set up, the report wouldn't display any data, but it would still raise some eyebrows and be a poor user experience. So by empowering designers and setting up this data security and limiting who they can publish to, that enables me to do 2 very important things. 1, sleep at night, and 2, not drown in requests to build reports, and allows our relatively small data team to support a large, diverse internal customer base. Cool, thank you. Next slide. Okay, and so finally, why do our customers and sales team love Sisense? This is very simple. Development speed. Sisense lets us provide super service for our internal and external customers. Once the initial setup is done, and again, shout out to our engineers and Sisense's support team, they're great as well. Once that setup is done, basically anyone can learn how to build reports in Sisense. And most importantly, it does not require engineering support, and engineering is the bottleneck for all software customers, all software companies. And so this means we can really provide super service to our internal and external customers, and we can support our sales team by rapidly building custom reports to help them seal the deal. So for example, say we're trying to land a university contract. Sales team can come to me with some requests. In a couple hours, we can build a report that can highlight what that university can gain from working with us. So with Sisense set up, with that infrastructure done, we can move really quickly, providing the relevant data to users when and where they need it. Cool. So that's my last slide talking about how we've worked together, Sisense and Cialfo. So I'm going to turn things back to Sujitha.
Yeah, thank you, Charles, for taking us through the journey and the kind of benefits you have reaped after embedding analytics within your customer-facing products. So in continuing that, I'll be showing a little demo with a small use case. So I'll share my screen and we can take it from there. Okay. So I would like to demo a use case on a similar in Edtech industry, where I'll be showcasing different analytics or charts that can be possible within that. And in this, I'll be majorly covering the advanced analytics that is available. So basically for this demo, I'm using Sisense, and I will be showcasing through or running through a small use case, I would say. So right now, I hope you are seeing my screen, and this is a use case where I'm trying to showcase the higher education course enrollment as well as completion analysis. So imagine you are a CXO or someone in the C level, and you want to understand how the enrollment of students as well as completion of courses are happening in your organization. So I'm putting up some, as an analyst, I'll be putting up some charts. Imagine it is internal. OK, so right now you can show charts that are coming from different enrollments happening across different departments. Management, marketing, sales, and you 1 second. I hope my screen is visible right now. I'm sorry about that.
Yep, you can see it.
Yeah, thanks, Jas, for confirming. Yeah, I was talking about a little use case. So let me explain you what I'm trying to show you in this demo. I will be covering how you can show the data in different charts. That is very basic. But what I'm trying to show you is the advanced features available within this tool called Sisense. So Sisense, as we were talking about it, it's an advanced tool and you can embed these charts. So I will show you how you can embed these advanced capabilities and take it and put it in your product. So I will walk you through those advanced features available. So this is a sample dashboard, and here we are trying to show the enrollment as well as completion of courses across your organization. So right now you can see the data is shown to the decision makers or the end users in the form of different charts. It can be a map, it can be a bar chart. You can see different pie charts, a gauge, and everything. So let's see how Sisense is differentiating and what kind of AI features we are bringing in. So let's say that we are like the organization is calculating the satisfaction rate or the satisfaction rate provided by the students, and you are finding it that it is very less and it is 3, right? And now you want to know, or you want to set up an alert system when something like when the rating reaches, say for example 4, then you want to you want to alert the decision makers that the decision, like the scores has gone up. So how you will do it? So we have something called as pulse. So I'll show you what pulse exactly does. So using this alert system, what I can do, I can set up an alert. Say for example, when the numbers reach, let's say 4, when the ratings reach 4, then maybe you can have a strategy, or you can go for a strategy where you will like to thank everyone who has rated 4 or something like that. So you want to alert the decision makers. In order to do that, whenever the rating hits 4, you can set up an alerting system where you can add different users. For example, let's say you want to alert the admins, or you want to alert a set of user group, or let's say you want to alert people uh, wherever they are. For example, you want to send the alerts in email, mobile, Slack, Zapier, or any other webhook. For example, you want to alert them in a WhatsApp or any other platform where you can do that. So that's the beauty of Sisense. You can take analytics and infuse it in different applications and take them actions wherever they are. That's what even Rohan was talking about. It's the third generation analytics that we are talking about. So that was about Pulse. So let's touch base another exciting AI feature. Remember, like we have end users and they don't know how to consume the data. Or for example, imagine you throw this 7 different dashboards, and the end user wants something else. So we are enabling the end users to simply ask the dashboards and get answers through them. So let's see how we can do it. Imagine I want to know my course completion across different years. So all I have to do is click on the course completion across different years and run it. And immediately my tool will show the graph. Yeah. So, and again, I want to, now I have analyzed different course enrollment for different years. Now I also want to check how many got like this is completion versus year, right? I also want to compare the enrollment along with this chart. So all I have to do is click a plus here and it creates the chart for me. Yeah, and I can change the look and feel of it the way I like it, and tada, you have the charts for you. So this is self-service, or we can call it a simply ask. You have options to choose different fields from here, or you can also type here in a natural query. For example, what's my completion rate? What's completion rate or something, right? Yeah, so you can type your questions and you can consume the insights immediately. So this is a super cool feature, or a feature that stands out from other analytics tools that are available. So imagine, so all these features can be part of your product itself. So that's the beauty of embedded analytics. You can white label them and you can claim this as your own product feature. Yeah. So that was about simply ask. Imagine there is so much to talk about the different features available within Sisense, but in the interest of time, I will touch base the major ones. Again, that was for the end users who don't know how to query the system, or they just know natural language and they want the answers immediately. That was for the self-service BI and end users. Now moving on to the tech savvies, people who want to dig further and create complex reports. For example, this is a course completion rate across different years. Now there will be a requirement from your from your management to forecast like how the completion rates will be. So here the normal analytics or whatever built in will not be supported by normal general analytics that is available in the market. But here what we do is, with the help of something called as forecasting, you have the option to analyze or create analysis or set up forecast. For example, let's try to understand this particular chart. So where this is a course completion chart across different years, and you can see how the course completions are getting like how the students are behaving and how the students are completing the course. And here you can see that there is a drop and there is a rise, and the completion has dropped really low, right? Now, if you want to forecast for the next quarter, right? So you have the option to set it up right through the tool instead of writing complex codes. So let's analyze it further. Yeah. Again, when we go for analysis, there is another option called as explanation. So this is one more option available within Sisense where you can understand or understand and explain the chart through Sisense. Yeah, so for example, we see that this is the chart, this is the course completion, and right now there is a breaking point. So system is automatically detecting where is the breaking point, and here I would like to know why my system, why there is a rise or why there is a breaking point on this particular quarter in 2011. So when I click it, I want to understand it better. So here it allows the user how you want to understand the data. For example, here I can select I want to understand the data through certain fields. For example, I want to understand the data through course completion and country name, as well as let's say geographic region. So I want to understand the data through these three different criterias and tell me why there was a rise on that particular time. So immediately Sisense analyzes the data and it throws the value to me. So right now, as a decision maker, just look at this. As a decision maker, I can figure out why there was a rise on that particular 2011 quarter two, why there was a breaking point. So I figured out that the kind of enrollment that came in this particular quarter was more from due to the geographic region. So more people applied from Great Lakes, South Asia and Mid East and Rocky Mountains on this particular date, and that's why there was a rise. Okay, what other fields or what other things contributed to this? So another was like course completion. Yeah, so the course completion also indirectly affected a rise in the course completion from others affected the overall rise in this particular quarter. So Sisense helps you how to look at the data, and it helps you to dig further and take decisions so that you don't deviate or you don't scratch your head thinking why this happened. Yeah, so that was analyzing, or this is called as explanation. So just imagine all these features can be part of your own product. So people who are from product teams who have joined here, so just imagine how cool it will be if you enable your end users to explain why something is happening, and you make them powerful by creating their own analysis. Yeah, so another feature, I'll just move to another feature. We have something called as narratives. So imagine you have to report something or you have to understand the data. Say for example, I'm showing you this chart, and all you have to do is like you will see this, and maximum you can summarize in how many points, one or two, right? All you can say is right now, as Sujitha, I can say that okay, since 2018 there was a sharp decrease in the course completion, or I can say it was more here and I could see a trend line, or I can say there is a forecast that it will go up somewhere. I'm not able to articulate more than that, and I'm not able to understand the chat more than that. And that's when another feature comes that is called as narratives. And in narratives, Sisense will help you in summarizing your chart. So look at the way it summarizes. Okay, for example, it throws you the key numbers because mathematics is something where we cannot process immediately, right? Say, for example, after looking at the chart, Sisense immediately tells that in Q2 2016, this is more than 2 times bigger than the average across all the 42 quarters within your history. So just imagine in 2016 Q2, the enrollment row was double throughout the history of your organization. So this is a key figure and key insight that you will get. And I'm sure people who are here who are also decision makers, these kind of stats and these kind of reports or summaries help you in strategizing your overall product map and overall organization roadmap. So these kind of summaries can be a part of your internal reporting, as well as you can put it in the customer facing applications. Say, for example, in edtech industry, you can show it to your students and say, hey, you are doing 2 times good in mathematics, but your marks have dropped in these particular sections. You have to concentrate more here, or something like that. So imagine the kind of the plethora of options that this tool is opening up for the people or for the organizations, right from the normal basic charts to simply ask, where you can just send your natural language queries and you get insights in written as charts, from complex maps, or let it be the summaries or forecast, and lots more. Imagine you have a complex R code, or a Python code, or a Jupyter notebook, where you are analyzing, say, for example, sentiments of some certain customers or something like that. All those can be incorporated within this tool. So that's the beauty of this overall tool. And just imagine incorporating and making all these advanced features as part of your product. And that's what Charles has showed, that how they are embedding those charts and in their customer facing applications, and how they have reaped customer happiness, and how they are making hassle-free uh, overall data structure. The way they have structured their overall data flow is so seamless and so simple, and they are able to achieve what they wanted. And I believe I like to stop here, and I believe you can associate how, or you can think how you can incorporate such embedded analytics within your product. So when I say, so right now, all you can see is that you have charts like this. So people who are tech savvy here, I just want to show how you can make this chart as part of your own application. So all you have to do is click on embed code, and immediately you will get, excuse me. Yeah, so when I say embed code, so Sisense creates embedding codes for you. So you can embed this iframe code within your application, and immediately this chart will be part of your product. So another important feature about Sisense is embedding code through iframe is something basic, right? So you have options to make these charts mimic your overall product style and CSS, right? So all these charts can become a part of your product, and they can take the skin of your product, and no one will figure out, or no one can find out that this is coming from some third-party tool called Sisense. So you can claim all the analytics as part of your product through white labeling. So yeah, that was all about the demo and I will like to stop here, and we can go for the question and answer session, so that we have 15 minutes of time, and we can make use of that time to take questions, and we can answer them. I will stop my screen share. So you have the participants, you have the chat option available here. You can send in your questions, and we will be able to answer your questions.
While we're waiting for some questions, I'd just like to comment, Sujitha. I think that's great. What Charles was talking about earlier on about development first, and having a strong development team being able to leverage the solution, but also end users being able just to, you know, not tech savvy, I'm gonna say not tech savvy, but wanting to have that immediate experience out of the box to get answers without having to write SQL codes. And I think that was really well put, Charles.
Yeah, yeah. So we have a question from Sanish George, and he asks, like, other than Slack, what other collaboration tools do you support? Okay, I'll take this up question. So apart from Slack, you have almost 490 plus connectors where you can connect Slack, connect Sisense and make a part of the product. Yeah. So you have multiple messaging apps. If you remember, I have showed you the option of Zapier and Webhook. Using that, you can incorporate and embed Sisense charts on all kind of applications. Yeah, as long as Webhook is available, then you're open to embed it anywhere. Yeah. Sanish, I hope that I answered your question. Yeah, okay. Any more questions? Please feel free to type in and we will be able to take it up. Okay. Okay, Kishore Patel asks, like, when we search in answers to draw a chart, those answers are pre-populated or it creates a dynamic list? I'm afraid that I understood this question correctly. Manish, can you unmute Kishore Patel so that he can? Yeah.
Yes, just give me a second.
Yeah.
Yes, Kishore, you can unmute yourself and make the question more clear.
Yeah, so my question is, like, when we search, we want to draw a chart by typing, right? By handing.
Yeah.
So it queries some data. So it is like whether it is searching from a pre-populated list, or it creates identified the dimension and create some combination which will be populated, presented to the user, and user will select one of them. So how it is being done?
Yeah, how it is maintained is like basically all the analytics happens on top of the data cube. Yeah, so the data will be residing in the Sisense Analytics database. So there are two concepts. Okay, by the way, I can okay, after this question, I'll show you the final PPT where how the Sisense connects to the database. I'll show the architecture, maybe you'll understand better. So what happens?
Sorry, I just interrupt you. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm my question a little bit different. I mean, I understood that is connected to the snowflakes, and the snowflakes will do a query. But what I'm saying, when you have some you show me a feature, right, where you just pick user can type query his chart, and the chart will be drawn. So when user types something, let's say I want to see a course by year, something like that. Okay. When you search that, at that time, it system will do some searching behind the scene, right? So it is from pre-populated list, or I mean, it is system has been those data has been already feed, or it is dynamically created. That was my question.
Yeah. So it works exactly like we populate any chart. Yeah. So the underlying data that we keep refreshing will be used for those kind of queries also. So in short, whatever mechanism is followed for generating a normal chart, the same data will be used for answering those questions also. Did I answer that? Yeah.
And I think maybe I'll just jump in here. So Kishore, I think you're also asking about the machine learning aspect of it, right? So when you're typing in, like simply ask, the answer is always in the data, right? But is it in the data model? So as you type in your questions, and I had a customer who was in a shipping organization, he wanted to know how many trucks delivered their parcels on time. And that's what they did, right? They just typed in natural language, and the machine got smarter and said, I think you mean this, I think you mean this, and you can just refine down a little bit more. So that's all built in. Again, that's part of the advanced analytics out of the box.
Yeah. So
okay, thanks both of you.
Yeah, thank you. So this is the Sisense Fusion platform. I hope you're able to see my screen. So if you see, basically Sisense connects to all different types of data sources. For example, from normal files to relational databases and high performance DBs. And once you connect to this data, you have the option, two options, like you can cache the data and put it within the Sisense AI engine or analytics database, or else you can connect live, right? And here you have the option to schedule the build, refresh the data, all those options will be available. And on top of this, you will be creating analytics. Yeah, on the right hand side, if you see, you will create the analytics. So no matter you query through NLP and you create charts, or there are pre-populated charts that are created by your analytics team, that analysis will be done on top of the data that is getting connected here and the way it is getting refreshed. Yeah, and once this data is charts are created, these can be incorporated and infused within different applications like cloud application, communication platforms, business application, or even workflows. Yeah. Any more questions?
I have one for Charles then. So Charles, at Cialfo, I mean, we talk about the student journey and, you know, the counselors being able to go into Cialfo and have a better understanding. It's almost like a KYC, know your customer, know your client type solution. Can you just tell us a little bit more about, you know, again, I go back to the being able to make, you know, data into information, information to insights, insights at the point of decision making, right? And that, I think, is at the crux of your solution, where decision making when they're doing their applications based upon the data. Can you just share a little bit more about that? Because I think that's fascinating.
Sure. So, for example, one of the main things that counselors need to do is they have a student, and the student will come to them and say, hey, I want to apply to these 5 universities. And the counselor's job is to say, you know, among other things, like, is this a good fit for you? Can you get in? Is this a good use of your time? So they have a lot of ways they need to help their students decide how to invest their time and their resources, et cetera. So one of the big questions basically is, will you get in? Right? That's sort of the driving question. If you apply, you spend 50 hours doing all the work, will you get accepted? So how can we enable schools and counselors to answer that question really easily? So what we do is we provide counselors in Sisense a list of all the students who have ever applied to that university from their high school, right? With the results. And we provide the profile of those students. So we could say students with this profile, be that their test grades, be that their tests, their grades, et cetera, they can see what is the profile of an accepted student look like at a given university, and then compare the student who they're working with to accepted students from that university and say, okay, based on the past 5 years of data, students like you have gotten in at about this rate, right? And that makes a really powerful tool where they can go through and give data-driven decisions and advice to students. And what they can do, which is great, is especially a lot of our schools are international schools. So they're not kids applying to the same 5 universities over and over again. I'm a counselor, you know, I'm at an international school. I have students applying to the US, to UK, to Canada, to Australia. And I don't necessarily have all that domain knowledge at my fingertips, but through Sisense, I can easily say, you know, I just pick from a dropdown, I pick the universities, and it says, what does an accepted student look like? I just have that answer. And then I can use that to counsel and work with students. Hope that answered the question.
Yeah, fantastic,
Yes.
fantastic story.
Yeah, thank you for asking.
Yeah. Charles, one more question from my side. You have been mentioning that like you were able to achieve a reduction in data engineering side, right? So how was that? Like, what was before Sisense and after Sisense, and how did it help you in decreasing the overall data engineering effort?
Well, I wouldn't say it decreases the overall engineering effort. So we built out our engineering team to build Sisense. So definitely there's a lot of awesome data engineers who I work with day to day. What it did is, and what it does is it reduces that busy work. So say, for example, you have a question where, you know, a customer, an internal customer wants to ask like 5 questions that are all slightly different. I don't need to block engineering time to have them do repetitive work. I can empower the designers in those departments to build out and maintain and ship those reports for their own internal customers, and let my team focus on their sort of key differentiator, right? So my team can work on building out that infrastructure, making sure the reports load fast, think about doing a lot of cool future forecasting. But when somebody says to me, I want this report, but I want to tweak it a little bit, I don't need to go book engineering time to do essentially that busy work. So it really lets us offload the busy work to the Sisense infrastructure and the local teams, and so they can have it in their time, doesn't need to get put into planning cycles, et cetera. And we can focus on doing the cool big stuff that will provide value for the whole company.
Okay, fine. Yeah, thanks, Charles.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And Rohan, I just wanted to know, like, we are like Sisense is coming up with so many advanced features. So what are the other how does the roadmap look like for the Sisense? Like, what all other AI-based features are coming in future? What can we expect out of Sisense?
So I think it's the user experience, right? So when we talk about what we want to do in making adoption, remember I said at the very beginning that people are spending money on analytics, but the adoption of analytics is quite low. And when you think about it, we as individuals, as consumers, are early adopters and big consumers of emerging technology. And I always use the analogy of Netflix. You turn on Netflix and it says, hey, we think you should watch Tiger King, right? Or Son of Tiger King, or Grandson of Tiger King, right? Yeah. Because based upon your past viewing preference, nobody worries about the predictive algorithms that went into that, or the AI, or anything. When you type in your searches using natural language, nobody. It's just that user experience that they have, and they want that in their business lives as well. They want to be able to use platforms without necessarily understanding SQL. And one last point, because I know we're getting up to time, I want to be respectful of everybody's time today. I was working with the largest childcare provider in Australia, and I was talking to the chief data officer, and he said, we talk about data literacy and getting things done, which is why we use technology in business in the first place. It's an enabler. We want to get stuff done. We have business objectives. Is that his end users were childcare professionals, not data scientists, not people who are going to go in and write SQL, not people who understood, fancy charts. So we've got to think about, hey, we've got to have the flexibility that we're providing the user experience so that we can provide data scientists what they need, right? So a code first approach, or a no code approach, or a low code approach, and being able to get all that information, all that data into one place, or turn it into information again, and then get those insights beyond the dashboard into the hands of a decision maker to make better decisions every day.
Yeah. That's great. That's great one. And I believe we also have options coming soon where users can bring in their Jupyter notebooks, run analysis, and create ad hoc charts. And if they like those charts, they can move it to the real dashboards that they are showing to their teams. Yeah. So that is one cool feature that will be really useful for the companies and for tech savvy people, right? And to create ad hoc reports. So I think that is a really cool feature that we can wait for. So yeah, thanks, Rohan. Thanks about that. And I think we have 2 more minutes left, and I have flashed the contact details of Rohan and Charles on the screens. You can reach out to them. And meanwhile, I think we have neared the end of this webinar, and I believe that this was useful for the people who have joined, and we'll be sharing the recording across, and this will be available in our LinkedIn and also in our website and other platforms where you can come back and see, and you can see how Cialfo was able to get invisible analytics within their products. Yeah, so I'm really happy that we have done a very good job here, and thanks Charles and Rohan for making this happen once again, and thank you everyone for joining this, and I hope you have some takeaway that will help you to design your analytics roadmap. Thanks everyone, and thanks Rohan and Charles. Yeah,
thank you everybody.
see you. Yeah, see you.